Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Peter Mishnowski, and the title of my PhD topic is Clarifying Violent Death through the Assessment of Diagnostic Methods and the Identification of Risk Factors. Besides working on my PhD topic, I'm also a resident at the Institute of Pathology, Forensic, and Insurance Medicine in Semmelweis University. During my scientific research, I'm working on finding the best possible postmortem diagnostic tools, because I believe that through that, postmortem proceedings can be better for the relatives and could be also less time and cost consuming. Right now, I'm working on two separate topics, first of which focuses on the virtopsy techniques, which are postmortem radiology techniques, and the second one, in the second one, we investigate the possible association between environmental factors and the incidence of suicidal cases. The title of my first and primary topic is The Role of Virtopsy. Autopsy alone does not meet the requirements of modern postmortem evaluation, and it is a systematic review and meta-analysis. But first, let me elaborate why autopsy is necessary in modern preventive programs. One of the best ways to save lives are preventive programs. Preventive programs are all based in epidemiological studies. Epidemiological studies are based on epidemiological findings, one of which, the most important, is the cause of death, which is determined by postmortem diagnostic tools such as autopsy. But unfortunately, however, the medicine developed over time, autopsy almost remained the same, and it is really similar to the ones that were carried out even in the 20th century. This causes huge cultural and religious tensions and places a huge burden on the families of the deceased. And even though it is necessary, postmortem diagnostic tools are not always accurate. 1 in every 4 death certificate gives a false cause of death, according to a recent study carried out by the NHS. And because of these reasons and the lack of proper human resources, the number of autopsies is unfortunately declining. However, as you see the issue, we should find some kind of solution for that. We are working to find an alternative which is less invasive, still at least reliable as autopsy, and if it's a plus, if it's even cheaper. And we have at least 3 different candidates which fill these criteria, the so-called virtopsy techniques, the first one being the postmortem computed tomography, the second, the postmortem magnetic resonance imaging, and the third one is postmortem computed tomography in connection with angiography. So this raises the question, can any of them, any postmortem imaging techniques, replace autopsy? And if the diagnostic parameters of these virtopsy techniques reach the golden standard of autopsy, then we can deduct that they can. But unfortunately, as far as we know, no real diagnostic tests were carried out on conventional autopsy itself, which also raises another question. Is conventional autopsy really gold standard? Or if it's not, then can we make it one statistically? Through a systematic search, we've found 102 relevant articles on the matter. The results are shown in the next figure. The x-axis shows false positive, while the y-axis shows sensitivity rates. The desired results are in the upper left corner. As you can see, CT was able to adequately find respiratory diseases and also skeletal fractures, while MR was able to find neurological diseases and cardiovascular diseases were properly detected by computed tomography angiography. Unfortunately, other findings such as the determination of cause of death by CT, or cardiovascular, neurological diseases, and soft tissue injuries also detected by CT, while MR detecting cardiovascular diseases were lacking in diagnostic parameters. Furthermore, we evaluated whether autopsy can be used as a gold standard, and we've had very surprising findings. Autopsy was far from a hypothetical gold standard, which should have the sensitivity and the sensitivity of 1 and false positive rate of 0. And based on these novel findings and novel diagnostic parameters of the autopsy, we recalculated the diagnostic parameters of virtopsy techniques too. And we found that in the case of cause of death determination by PMCT and the finding cardiovascular diseases by postmortem computed tomography angiography, the two methods had similar diagnostic accuracy. However, conventional autopsy was still superior in detecting cardiovascular diseases in comparison to plain PMCT. And we found that the virtopsy techniques, such as PMCT, bring more reliable results in skeletal injuries and traumatic injuries and bleeding in comparison to conventional autopsy. So you can see here are the virtopsy techniques, and this is the conventional autopsy. So to summarize, we can say that PMCT-A is able to replace autopsy in natural cardiovascular death cases, which accounts to a quite high percentage of cases, 13 to 35 of all death cases. PMCT is a preferred modality in respiratory diseases and skeletal fractures, and could easily reduce the invasivity of the autopsy. PMMR is most suitable for acute hypoxic brain and heart injuries, which are usually invisible for our bare eyes for conventional autopsy. And autopsy itself cannot be accepted as a gold standard. It doesn't meet its diagnostic requirement. We are planning on submitting our research in the Journal of Pathology Clinical Research. In our second topic, we are working on finding the possible association between weather parameters and the number of suicidal cases. However, the suicide incidence, in its all-time low in Hungary, it still claims more than 4 lives every single day. The available publications on the association between weather parameters and suicidal incidence are often contradicting and usually lack decisive results. Thus, our aim is to analyze the suicidal cases of our existing prospective registry and to find associations with change in certain meteorological parameters such as temperature, wind speed, precipitation, atmospheric pressure, humidity, or solar radiation. This poses the clinical question: does meteorological data show association with higher incidence of suicidal death cases? And if it does, then we can make ads and preventive campaigns more precisely targeted and distribute the medical and psychiatric care, human resources availability more adequately. The registry is a single center registry which includes all non-natural and some natural death cases from Budapest, Pest, and Nógrád countries. It accounts to more than 2,000 cases each year, and it includes all the necessary data for evaluation of these cases. We plan on submitting our second project this summer. And to finish, I would like to quote János Pilinszky on why he doesn't like psychologists. He said that you, psychologists, think that in life there are problems which demand solutions, while I believe that in life there are tragedy, and what you need is mercy. Thank you for your kind attention.
The second project is a prospective registry analysis, if I'm correct.
Yes.
starting in 1987. The data collection at least. So what is the quality of this data? How are you coping with this registry, if you could say a few words?
Yep. Thank you for the question. So basically the data we have to use are quite simple data, all right? So we have a registry from, as you can see, 1899, but the variables were very different at that time. They were like in which level the person was living, because that was the financial status, which religion they were the part of, and so on. And in the data, which is available from 1987, is very sustained. So we have all the date of birth. It's a very easy data. Maybe the metallurgical data is not that, it might have changed a lot. And also we have to exclude the other covariants, which obviously changed a lot, but that has to be included in the discussion.
You mentioned income as well, I think, just now. Will you account for the change over years, which category they will fall into?
Yes, we had a discussion about this several months before, and there are several covariants you have to take into account because they have much stronger effect in the suicidal case than what we expect from the metallurgical side. So you have to take them into account, because then if you don't, then they would mask the results. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It will be a regional study. Are there any meta-analyses on this project, or are you maybe planning to do one in the future, or search for possibilities to do that to get a broader insight in this topic?
Yes, obviously there is a possibility, but the culture and other differences make it really, really hard work. If we finish it and we find that there is a plausible association between the weather parameters and suicidal cases, it is plausible that we will continue with the meta-analysis. But first, we need to see this whether even if there is an association, it could be so minor that the meta-analysis doesn't have any meaning afterwards.
I have one question regarding your second project. If you go back to your framework, so the population is a population of Budapest, and so what kind of population? Are they just the general population, or this population have disorder that they are at a higher risk of mortality or suicide, high risk of suicide? And maybe I missed it in your presentation, how would you assess this meteorological factors? What do you mean by temperature, wind speed? Like, is it like seasonal depression, for example, winter and summer? Or if you can say a few words about that.
Yep, sure. So the population is the basic population, so every person is involved. And we see the incidence of suicidal cases. So at this day, there were 4 suicidal cases. Next day, 2. Next day, 3, and so on. All right? And what we would like to see, is there any association between a change in meteorological parameter, which we call a meteorological event. So if there is a sudden change in like the temperature, there is a drop of temperature because there is a front coming in, then you could expect some kind of increase in the number of suicidal cases, such as some people have headaches while there is a front. Psychiatric cares fill up when there is a front. Gynecology departments fill up when there is a front because there are a lot of newborn babies. So that's the idea behind it.